back with another video, and today's video is going to be a look into my home management notebook and a budget video. This video has been a long time coming. I've been talking about doing budgeting videos for quite a while, and what I figured out over the last couple of days of trying to get this video filmed is that it's really hard to do a budget video without giving away a ton of personal information. Full disclosure, this is the third time that I have filmed this video now because the first time I was just casually flipping you through this book and showing you guys how I work with my notebook and how I budget, and I showed way more personal information than I intended to. There's a lot of stuff in here that I scribble down that's just not for public consumption. Things like account numbers, credit card balances, income information, stuff that my husband and I are just not comfortable sharing with the internet. So that was the first attempt. The second attempt was completely in the dark because I was trying to film it on a rainy day, and so that didn't really work out either. So I'm going to try this for a third time. You guys may see a few camera angle changes and stuff because I might try to incorporate some of the footage from my previous attempts to try to make this a cohesive video. And then the other problem that I've been having is that it's hard to show you guys everything without it being a 25-minute long video. So I'm going to try to get through it quickly. It's just going to be my January budget overview and a look into how I budget on paper. So this is my home management notebook. This is basically my lifeline in here. Everything, all of my information is in here. This thing, if I lose this thing, it would be really, really tough for me because I love this book. It's sort of like a bullet journal in that I put lists and grocery shopping stuff and notes to myself into it. Only it's a lot more casual than a bullet journal, right? Because I have a ton of really beautiful notebooks. I have great looking hardcover notebooks with beautiful binding and pages. I have this one too. I have the Licterm, I don't know if I'm saying that right, that everybody uses for a bullet journal. But my problem is I am too afraid to mess up a pretty notebook. So I basically hoard all these really beautiful notebooks and never write anything in them because the way that I do my home management journal is it's real casual and it's real messy. So a $1 composition book from the Dollar Tree, I totally don't mind scrabbling in and writing crazy notes to myself on a sideways margin or whatever. I just can't commit to a really pretty notebook. So I just use this and a ballpoint pen, easy peasy. This is not a super pretty process. I'm sure that you guys have watched budget videos before where everything is in a really beautiful notebook and there's stickers involved and everything is like lined up with pretty lines and totals. That's not my process at all. Basically, this is like a brain dump type situation. So I put things like my meal plan, my grocery lists in here. You guys are going to see as I start to flip through this that I have pages clipped together. I have sticky notes covering personal information. I tried to really go through here and block out anything that I did not want to share with the world because I didn't want to make that mistake again. Alright, so yeah, how I use this notebook, I do things like meal planning, grocery lists. I write out my budget every single month. We're going to go over January's budget in a minute once I go through this kind of overview. And you can see sticky notes covering totals and personal information, account numbers, that sort of thing. I keep track of my sinking funds here. I do lots of just scratch math. Like I said, I use a calculator, but sometimes it's just quicker and easier to write it out by hand. So this is a very messy thing here. It's not pretty, it's functional 100%, and that's why I don't use a pretty notebook, because I feel like a pretty notebook deserves a really pretty, proper list and everything to be pretty. And I just said pretty like 3 times, but yeah, this is my style of home management. So You can see every week I break down what's going out that week. I write it all down. I do math in the margins. I check things off as things have been paid. I swap things around. I scratch things out. So that's just how I do it. You can see here I've used this to keep track of our Advent activities that we were doing in December. Again, more budgeting, and it's just kind of real willy-nilly. This was Christmas planning. Nothing is in order. Nothing is prim and proper here. It's all just me doing what I gotta do to get the stuff on paper. And especially with budgeting, the way that I do things is I write out my budget on paper for the entire month. Every single dime that's going out. Usually I include income too. My husband and I talked about it. We are not comfortable sharing our income with the internet, so I'm not going to be giving you guys any income information. I apologize. I'm sure that might be frustrating for some of you, especially if you're trying to build a budget and maybe you have a similar income to us. I'm going to be showing you what's going out every month, but not what's coming in. I really had to try to find a balance between sharing way too much information and doing this video, which is why I've struggled so much to film it. It's hard to find a balance between what to share, what not to share. But that's what my husband and I agreed on. We are not going to talk specifics with credit card debt. We do have some credit card debt. We're not going to talk about totals right now. We're just not comfortable with that at this point in time. I have a lot of people in my real life that watch these videos. And it's not something that we're going to share. So there's that. But basically what we're going to do in this video, I've shown you kind of what I do in this notebook, and now I'm going to show you kind of how I do it. So we're going to write out January's budget overview. So like I started to say, we start out every month writing out January's budget, a monthly budget. My husband gets paid weekly, so the way that we actually budget is week to week, paycheck to paycheck. But I always like to get a basic overview first and foremost, so I know everything that's coming out in the month of January. And then I will go in every week on payday and I will write out the weekly budget. I hope that makes sense. If you guys would like to see a weekly budget with me where I break things down by weeks, let me know. I can absolutely do that, but right now we're just going to do a quick January budget overview. So I'm just using a ballpoint pen from the Dollar Tree, nothing fancy, no stickers, no nothing. It's just January 2019, our budget overview, all the money that's going to go out in the month of January, all the bills we have to pay, our expenses for the month, etc., etc. So the first thing I do when I'm doing my January budget overview is I look at a January calendar. This is just in my Happy Planner. You guys will see this planner coming up. I'm going to start doing Plan With Me videos again soon, which I know some of you are excited about, but basically all I'm looking at this calendar for right now is just paydays. So my husband gets paid on Tuesdays every week. I'm looking here in January and I can see that there's 5 paychecks in January. That's exciting, but it changes up my budget a little bit. Typically there's 4 weeks. So I have to account for things like an extra week of groceries, an extra week of spending money, that sort of thing. So I need to keep that in mind when I'm building my January budget. So the first thing I'm going to do here is list out my bills, all of the money that's going to come out in January, and their due dates, and how much it costs to pay those bills. And I'm going to kind of put them in order from how early they're due to how late. So the beginning of the month's bills are obviously going to go towards the top. The end of the month's bills are going to go towards the bottom. Easy peasy. So first and foremost, every month we have to pay lot rent. So my husband and I own a mobile home that we are making payments on through our mortgage, but we live in a mobile home park. So while we own our home and we pay a mortgage, we also rent the lot that the mobile home sits on. So we pay rent and mortgage, basically. If you're familiar with mobile home parks, that's just the way that it's done. So our lot rent just actually went up at the beginning of the new year, so I need to account for that Our lot rent with our pet fee, we pay a $20 pet fee to have our dog and our cat, is $506. So we're gonna write $506. So there's that, and that is due on January 1st. Next up, we have water. We actually combine our water and lot rent payment and just write one check, but I do it as separate line items because while the lot rent stays the same every month, the water changes. So typically I would estimate the water bill if I was doing this kind of super far in advance, but I'm actually doing this budget right now on January 1st. So I've already received my water bill. I know it's about $38. I'm just gonna write down 40. A lot of times when I'm doing my budget, I will round up, and that way, as I actually pay things, I'm not paying quite as much as I wrote down, which means I have a little tiny bit of a buffer. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's due 1/1 as well. Aside from that, we have Netflix, which comes out on the 1st of the month. We do not have cable. We don't have cable TV. So we have things like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime to be able to, you know, entertain ourselves. We pay $14.99 a month. I'm just gonna write $15. That's due 1/1 as well. And then what I will do is as I go in and pay these bills, I will check them off, and if the actual amount differed from the amount I put in, I'll just write it in parentheses, the actual amount. It's just how I do things. Okay, so that's the bills on the 1st. We have our Spectrum bill, which is our cable internet, and that costs $64.99 a month, so I'm just going to write $65, and that is due on the 6th of every month. We have our mortgage payment, which is due on the 10th. We pay $281 and change, so I'm going to write $282, and that's due on the 10th. Next on our list here we have our campground. So my husband and I bought a camper back in late spring, I want to say, of 2018, and we have it on a campsite that we pay for annually. It's an annual site. The camper can stay there all year, and we just pay a certain amount every year to be able to leave it there. We've broken down our annual payment into a monthly payment, basically, and we pay approximately $150. It kind of goes up or down based on the electricity use. Right now we are not using the camper. It's basically just stored there for the summer, so the electric bill, we're not using any electricity, so it should be a little bit lower. In the summertime it's a little bit higher because we're doing things like running our air conditioner, whatever. But there's a flat fee for actually keeping the camper on the campsite, and then there's an electric fee on top of that. We pay it all at once, so it's just one line item in the bill, or in the budget. I budget about $150 for that, and that's due on January 11th. Trying to give you guys as much information as possible without giving you too much information and having this be a 500-hour-long video. Next up we have Hulu. So we were locked in with Hulu for a year at $5.99, but our year is actually up in January, so our bill is going up to $7.99. So I just round up to $8. That is due on January 13th. Alright, so next up we have Boost Mobile. That's where we have our cell phone service through. It is a prepay service. We have 4 lines. My husband, myself, and my 2 children all have phones. It's an unlimited family plan, so we have as many text messages, as many phone calls as we want. And we pay $130 a month for the 4 lines, and then we pay an additional $7 a month for insurance on my husband's phone. My husband is a plumber. He works in sewer and drain cleaning. I cannot tell you the number of times that he has dropped his phone in water, dropped down manholes, toilets, that sort of thing. So we always insure his phones. The rest of us are pretty easy on our phones. There's no need for us to have insurance. We don't buy top-of-the-line phones, so it's not like if we break our phone, we're going to have to pay $800 for it. But my husband, as often as he goes through phones, we do the insurance for him. So that's an extra $7 a month. We pay $137 a month, and that is on the 15th of every month. Okay, there's that. Next up, we have our truck payment. So we bought our truck back in, was it 2016 or 2017? I'm not sure. We drive an F-250 Super Duty. We pay just under $300 a month for that. So of course, you guys know I round up to $300, and we pay that on the 17th of every month. We also have our camper payment. So I told you guys we bought a camper last year, and that is basically just our form of entertainment. We go on camping trips every weekend during the summertime. We don't do fancy vacations. We don't spend a lot of money on entertainment. Our entertainment is our camping. So we pay just under $200 a month for our camper, and that is due, I think, on the 23rd. But what we tend to do is the loan for our truck and our camper are both with the same credit union, so we just pay them both at once. There's a little bit of a grace period with that, so we just write a $500 check. No big deal there. So that due date doesn't really matter because we always pay those on the same day. Next up, we have our electricity bill. Our electricity is with DTE, and we are on a budget plan with DTE. So what that means is we pay the exact same amount every month, whether it's winter or summer. They have taken our annual bills and averaged them and divided them by 12, and that's the amount that we pay every month. Once a year, they look over everything and reevaluate how much that's going to be based on usage. So if we use less electricity this year than we did last year, then our bill will go down a little bit. It'll go up if we've used more. You know, so basically, it's a budget plan. I highly recommend that you do that. Anyone can be on a budget plan. All you have to do is call your service provider and mention it. Most companies, I think, have that option. So we pay $150 a month for our electric bill all year round, and that's due on the 23rd. We have a similar setup with our gas company, which is Michigan Gas, and we pay $49 a month for that. And that's due on the 23rd as well, or the 26th, somewhere in there. The due dates don't really matter in terms of the month because we tend to pay all of the bills that come out that week on Tuesday when we get paid. But actually, I think now that I'm thinking about it, these bills are on the 26th. Next up, we have, we just recently added this one, so it's out of order, but that's okay. We have Audible. My husband is a audiobook lover. He doesn't read, but he drives a lot for his job, so he listens to audiobooks all the time. They had some kind of promotion where he could get 3 months of Audible for $6.95 a month. That's actually coming to an end now in January, so this will be gone next month, but for now, I need to put it in here, and that comes out on the 24th of the month. We're coming down to the end here now. We do have our insurance, auto insurance. That is full coverage insurance for our truck and our camper, and that is $205.29 a month. So we're just going to put $206, and that's due on the 23rd of every month. My husband also has a motorcycle that is bought and paid for, but he does have full coverage insurance on that as well, and that is through a different company, so it's a different line item in the budget, and that's $29.01 a month. So I'm just going to write $29.01 for that, or $29 for that, and that is also due on the 23rd. So if I am not mistaken, that is all of our monthly bills. This is stuff that happens every single month. Now we can sort of get into our weekly expenses, so things like gas and groceries and that sort of thing. So first and foremost, we'll have groceries. So I just write groceries here, but this money that we allocate for groceries pays for our groceries. It pays for any household items, things like laundry detergent, toilet paper, shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, all of that. Basically anything you can buy at Walmart, because that's where I do some of my grocery shopping. If you guys have ever seen my grocery hauls, you guys know I go to Aldi and Walmart every single week. So this line item, this budget item covers that. It also covers all of our pet care things. So things like pet food, cat litter, any pet medications, that sort of thing. And we budget $125 a week for groceries. It was $100 a week, and I was finding that I was coming up short every single week, and I was always over budget. So we just raised it a little bit for the new year, and I think that's a little bit more reasonable for a family of 4, for all of those things that I just mentioned. And that's the great thing about budgeting, is you can constantly change it to reflect your needs and things. So it's $125 a week because we have 5 weeks in January. We're going to set aside $600 for groceries in the month of January. Is that right? Well, I'm not the best at math. I think so. Next up, we have gasoline. So I told you guys we drive a F-250 Super Duty, so we use a lot of gas. But in the wintertime, I don't drive nearly as much as I do during the spring, summer, fall season. My kids are not in any activities during the winter time, so there's no driving for that. And also, I avoid going out in the winter as much as possible because I hate winter and I hate snow and I hate driving in icy conditions. So we're just not using as much gas in the winter as we are other times of the year. However, we budget the same amount for gas as we would if it was spring, summer, and fall. So we budget $50 a month for gas. And what I do in the wintertime is I just fill up my tank every Tuesday. It takes whatever it takes. Maybe it takes $35, maybe it takes $40, whatever it takes. And then I take whatever is left over from that $50 and I set it aside for the months when we do drive more. So I just have a cash envelope that has our extra gas money in it, and then come the spring and summer when we're driving a lot more, we're going back and forth to our camper, kids have activities, we can just get into that to supplement the $50 a week that we budget during that time of year. I hope that makes sense. So it's $50 a week. My husband drives a company truck to and from work, so that doesn't have to come out of our gas, which is lovely. But $50 a week, 6 weeks, or 5 weeks in the month of January. So that's $250 in gas for January. That was a long-winded explanation. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying to keep this short, and I feel like I'm failing. So other than gas and groceries, we have bank fees that come out every single month. It's just $3, but I include it in my budget. We have our sinking funds. We have a whole list of all of our irregular expenses, things that do not happen every single month, but that still need to be accounted for. So things like haircuts, grooming for my dog, car tags, that sort of thing. I can go into a separate video about sinking funds to tell you guys exactly everything that we're saving for. But it's all on a list, and what we did was we listed out every single thing we could think of that we would need to account for, but not necessarily monthly. We totaled them all up. We took that total and divided it by 52 weeks in a year and figured out how much we need to save every week to have enough money to cover those irregular expenses. And it came out to something like $88 a week. You know me and my rounding, I rounded it up to $100. So we save $100 a week in sinking funds. We transfer that to a separate account, and that money just sits there and waits for things like haircuts to come up. And we just take the money right out of there so that we don't have to then figure it into our monthly budget. So we put aside $100 a week for sinking funds. So in January we will put aside $500. So we put $100 aside in miscellaneous, just for, like I said, a buffer. My husband gets cash every week. This is his spending money, so it's money for whatever he wants to spend it on. I don't ask him about where his money went. It's just money that I give him free and clear. Most of his money goes to cigarettes, He is a smoker. I wish that he would quit, but I can't force him to quit. So he gets $40 a week in cash, $200. So he'll have $200 in cash in the month of January because there's 5 paychecks in January. Until recently, I wasn't taking any cash. So if there was something that I wanted to buy, I just didn't. I don't want or need for a lot of things. So for like the last 8 months or so, I haven't been taking cash, and I've just been putting any money that I would take for cash towards debt or towards other things. But this year I decided I was going to start taking a little bit of cash, not a lot, $10 a week, just to cover, you know, if I want a cup of coffee or if I want a lipstick, whatever it is. So that's $50. I am home a lot more than my husband. He works, I don't. We're just in different circumstances in our lives, so he gets more cash than I do. That's a decision that we made together. And I'm not bitter about it, so y'all shouldn't be. And if I wanted to take more cash, I could, but that's just what I've chosen to take for now. And maybe next week or next month I'll adjust that. But for now, that's what it is. What it is. What else? Is there anything else? Oh yes, eating out. So every month I always say that we're not going to eat out. We're just going to focus all of our money on groceries and eat really healthy, etc., etc. And then every month we eat out anyway. So I have been putting $100 in our budget for eating out starting in the new year. That way, when we inevitably do it, it's in the budget. So that is everything. This is everything that goes out in the month, with the exception of our credit cards. We do pay the minimum payments on our cards every single month, obviously, plus whatever we have left over for a snowball. We do the Dave Ramsey method of paying off credit cards. We tackle the lowest total first, and we pay it off as quick as possible, and then we move on to the next one. So we've already paid off 2 credit cards, which is great. So that is everything that goes out in our month. You know, this miscellaneous category definitely catches anything that I have missed. This is everything that comes out of our paychecks in January. This is not anything that's going to come out of our sinking funds. You can see here I allocated money to go into sinking funds, but I don't write down here in this portion of the budget what's coming out of our sinking funds, because that's a separate account. It's a separate budget entirely. If you guys would be interested in seeing what we have in our list of sinking funds and that sort of thing, I can absolutely do a separate video on our sinking funds and show you guys how I keep track of the money that's going in and coming out of our sinking funds. Easy peasy. Just let me know if you're interested in that. But that is our January budget overview, and then I will go in every single week on Tuesday when my husband gets paid. I write down the income, I write down the bills that are due and the expenses that are due for the week, and I keep track of our budget weekly as well. But this is just our January overview. And then what I do is I go in and I put all of the same information into the EveryDollar app on my phone. It's also a website. It is based on the Dave Ramsey zero-based budget. We don't follow Dave Ramsey's practices entirely, but we do pick out a few things that he talks about that work for us, and we really, really like that app. So I put everything in there basically, so that my husband can reference the budget without having to go into my little bag of tricks here. And also just so that I have long-term records. This way I can go and look back at January of 2018 and compare January 19 without having to search through my different, budgeting books. It's just easier to compare things year to year. So that's what I will do next. I'll go in and do that. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. I think I've shown you guys that process before. But that's it. That is my home management notebook and my January budget. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I hope I was able to translate everything without giving away too much information. It's definitely a delicate balance trying to share budgeting with you guys and not telling you every single detail of my life. I share a lot with you guys, but there's some things that, just can't be shared. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know down below if you'd like to see weekly budget videos where I break everything down by the week. Let me know if you would like to see that sinking funds video, because I'd be happy to do that as well. If you guys budget a different way than I do, let me know how you do it. Let me know what you found helpful, if you're working on paying off debt or what your financial goals are. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe so that you never miss a video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!